Listen up, people. That's right. It's time to listen to the sparks of bliss in your life. I'm your host and life coach, Caroline de Posada from Miami, Florida. And this podcast is an invitation to join me in upgrading our mindset, wellness, and relationships so that together we create a life that unlocks our bliss. Join me each week as we explore practical strategies, inspiring stories, and the moments of clarity, or as we like to call them, los momenticos, that make the world a little more magical. Consider this your weekly dose of wisdom in your pocket. Are you ready? Let's do this. Hey, listeners, welcome to episode number 13 of Blissin' Up. If you are listening to this podcast on the day that it airs, today is the last Sunday of July. Now, at the end of each month, I have a practice of taking some time to reflect on the month that has just passed and the month that is about to come. This is one of my favorite practices in living with intention. I've actually already shared this practice with you twice on this podcast. This is the third month that we are wrapping up together. So if you haven't listened to those episodes, I invite you to listen to episode number 4 and episode number 9. They are both excellent episodes on creating this intentional practice. Now, this practice is a way of slowing down and catching your breath in a life that can pass us by so quickly. You know, with all of our to-dos and events and goals and all the circumstances that present themselves on a daily basis, the days can easily turn into months and the months can blend into years. And we don't even realize that time is passing us by so rapidly. And if we don't take a moment to kind of slow down and reflect on what we're doing, how we're showing up, and who we are becoming in the process, it can kind of escape us. So that's why I invite you to share in this process with me, asking yourself the questions I'm asking, taking the time. And this doesn't have to be a super elaborate practice. It could be a few minutes. It could be something that you think about while you're driving in your car in traffic on your way to work, or on a sacred Sunday morning like this morning with a pen and paper and journaling your thoughts. But the practice is important nonetheless. So today I want you to reflect on your past month. What worked? What didn't work? What do you wish had been different? What do you want to let go of and leave behind in the last month that you don't want to take with you into the future month? What do you want to hold on to and remember and savor? What do you want to take with you into the new month? And who are you becoming? These are all questions that I ask myself on a regular basis, and I allow myself to look at it all, the good, the bad, the indifferent, and what it represents in my life. This is also an opportunity to connect some dots. Like, I'll give you an example. When looking back at June and July, this has been a difficult summer for my family. If you've heard the prior episodes, I talk a lot about what happened with my sister. My sister had a crisis this month, or this summer, I would say, not this month. It's been more than a month, but this summer, in which she had a toe that was wounded. It would not heal and resulted in half of her foot being amputated. It was a very difficult time for our family, full of surprises, a lot of unexpected circumstances. There was a lot of chaos, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of pain, a lot of grief that showed up in this journey and in this process. And it was a rough time. And it's easy to look back at the last month and just say, it was all hard. It was all bad. It was a bad month or a bad time. But in reality, That's not 100% accurate, because despite the fact that it has been a couple of months of survival and chaos, and it has been hard, there have also been moments of connection, a showing up of family that is unparalleled, moments of gratitude for the small and the big wins we've had in the process, moments of love, grace, compassion, togetherness, blessings. There has been a lot of beautiful moments despite the difficulty of the time. And I really believe that had I not taken the opportunity to sit and reflect and connect these dots and think about this time and slow down and catch my breath, I would have overlooked those moments. I would have overlooked the good stuff because there was so much bad stuff, right? So I've been living in the both and, living in a lot of the sadness and a lot of the grief, and making time and space to appreciate and savor the blessings and the good times that are kind of enmeshed in the months. So anyway, back to July. I was looking at what July represented for me, and it really has felt like a tennis match or a pickleball game in which I've been on this court and I've got my, racket, and I'm just waiting for the ball so that I can hit it next and make my point. It's been a month of a lot of reactivity, right? I tend to want to live a life of proactiveness, which I talk about in my core methodology. It's like living a proactive life, doing what's important, not urgent, and not living in crisis mode. And that's an important practice to have, but it's not always feasible. July was a month of living in quadrant 1, which is handling the things that are important and urgent, both and, because it's been a month of survival, right? So in that month, there's a lot of reactivity going on, and you're just like, you're in that match and you're fully present, and you're like, the ball's coming, you got to hit it. Next point. And what's, preparing for what's going to come next. And July felt very much like that for me. And even though the circumstances that presented themselves is what it was, I also recognize that you cannot live in that mode forever, or you should not live in that mode forever. But you can also give yourself grace for the periods of your life that you're in that mode. So that's where we were at in July. Now, in reflecting for this episode and just for my month in general, I re-listened to one of my favorite podcasters, Emily P. Freeman. She has a podcast named The Next Right Thing, and she's got this beautiful episode. I'm going to put it in the show notes, episode 186, in which she does a reflection of summer, and she discusses June, July, and August in such a beautiful way. She has this gift of humanizing months and depicting them almost as people that come into your life. It's absolutely wonderful. I invite you to listen to it. And as I was listening to her talking about July, she talked about having a complicated relationship with July, because it's a month that we would rather be playing than working, and we have to learn how to live with conflicting desires when you have to work instead of play, or you have to live in a reality that is different than the expectation that you've set for the summer months. And as I listened to that, I thought, oh my God, that is so how my July was. It was this messy middle month. I came into June with expectations of what summer was going to look like and how exciting it was going to be and refreshing and time with my family. And, I envisioned puzzles and board games and maybe a vacation on the beach and getting ready for my big Alaska trip, which I'm supposed to be on right now, but was canceled due to what happened with my sister. But it was just, I had all these expectations for what the month was going to look like. And that's not the reality of the month. In fact, it was a complicated, messy month with glimpses of play, with glimpses of family time, but definitely a lot more work than play, for sure. So I thought that was beautiful as I listened to her. And then she spoke about August being seasoned wisdom, being a more mature month, a month where the summer is ending and you're getting ready for the change that is coming, which is fall, and the maturity that comes with that month. And I thought about that as I'm stepping into August, and I so connected to that because you see, with my sister's issue, June and July we were kind of like amateurs. We didn't know what we were getting into. There was a lot of chaos and uncertainty and unknowns, and it was very fresh. So we were in the threshes of the hurricane, just kind of like unseasoned, unknowing, unprepared for what was coming. But that crisis gives you time. It gives you time to kind of grow up in it. There's how do I best describe it? It's like a moment of adjustment. There comes a point in any crisis or any moment of grief or any tragedy in which you mature. You get used to what's happening. You start understanding where you're at. You get more information. You tap into your resilience. You get stronger. You realize that you are going to survive this. And in many ways, you start getting used to this circumstance and you start learning how to live within this circumstance and kind of find normalcy in this new normal. And that's kind of what happened to us. So as I look at August, I agree with Emily. I'm kind of coming into August with more maturity, with a seasoned wisdom, so to speak. And I'm ready to embrace the change that is coming while savoring what's left of this summer. So that's what got me thinking about my August theme. For me, August is really going to represent getting grounded, kind of getting organized, going back to myself, my life, the life that I want to live. So I thought, and I thought the theme for August for me, and I invite it to be for you, is back to bliss. I was thinking about back to the path. Now, I want you to know I struggled with the whole concept of back to bliss, and I'm going to tell you why. Because I wondered, am I trying to force bliss? Am I trying to force an emotion that I can't force? Am I trying to pursue a feeling like happiness, bliss, euphoria? Am I trying to pursue that? And is it a fool's errand? And the answer to that is no. I'm not pursuing the feeling. I am pursuing the path. I'm getting back on path, back on track. I recognize that I've been in the throes of the hurricane and it's time to clean it up. It's time to, start repairing, start rebuilding, and start creating a new, beautiful life again. The other day, I went for a walk with Betsy, my dear friend who I talk about all the time, and has an amazing program of her own. We'll attach it in the show notes. But Betsy invited me to walk. She was like, "Hey, she's been traveling so much for the summer, and I've been traveling back and forth from Fort Myers, so we haven't been able to walk as regularly as we enjoy. But this particular day, we were both in town, and she's like, "Hey, do you want to walk in the morning?" And I begged her to walk with me, our traditional sunrise walk. I have this path that I take. It's 5.5 miles from a place in Miami called Pinecrest Gardens, which takes us all the way to a place called Matheson Hammocks. And there's this beautiful water view, and they have the most gorgeous sunrises with palm trees, and it's so worth the walk. So if you look at the time that the sun is going to rise, and you plan accordingly, and you get there, you're going to experience the most beautiful sunrise ever. So I asked her if she would please come with me on that walk. And she agreed. So we set out, to go walking at whatever it was, 5:45 in the morning. And we're walking. And when we get to the water, it was a super cloudy day. There was no sunrise in sight. It was completely dark, and the clouds were all covering the sun. And I looked, and I never questioned that the sunrise didn't happen. It's not like I questioned whether the sun was there or not. I knew the sun was there. It was just hiding behind the clouds. And even though I could not see the sunrise, the walk served me tremendously, because I had a beautiful walking session with my dear friend. I moved my energy. I got to the water and got to hear the water. I got to enjoy the breeze. I got to see the beauty of the clouds. Even though there was no sunrise, it was still beautiful in many, many, many ways. And I looked at that path and I thought, this is what it means to go back to bliss. Bliss is within you. It's like the sun. It is always there within you. It's a state of being that never leaves you. But sometimes there are clouds in the way. Sometimes you just can't tap into it. You just can't see it. But you have no doubt that it's there. You just, it's just not visible to you at that moment. So back to bliss for August is, for me, getting grounded in the path. It's taking that walk and walking to the water, understanding that I may or may not experience the sunrise, but I know that the sun is there and that every morning it rises, and I can trust that. So I will walk anyway, in hopes that I can see the sun and I can experience the sunrise, even briefly and momentarily, because it's always worth it when I experience it. And that's how bliss is. The feeling, the state is always worth it, even when it's just a spark, even when it surprises you, even when it's fleeting, and even when you just have to trust that it's there, even though you can't see it. So this month, I will do things that inspire me, like go to the National Speakers Association conference, Influence, which I love, and take my kids and listen to some incredible speakers. I'm going to do that. I'm going to get ready to help my kids start school, get all the school supplies, their uniforms, clear out the closets, get organized, go back to my routine, go back to the gym, just go back to the path. And I'm going to try to savor some last minute summer moments. I'm going to get ready for School Year's Eve, which I'll talk to you probably about next week, and just enjoy what's remaining of the summer while still dealing with my sister's circumstances, because that's the beauty of life, is sometimes everything can change, even though nothing has changed. So my sister is still in the hospital, and we are still dealing with an upcoming surgery that she's going to have. And we're still haven't climbed the mountain with her. We're not at the end of the path by any means, but we're accustomed. We are more mature. We are more grounded. We're more prepared. And we are luckily coming out of the crisis and more into the reparation, into the recovery mode. And there's a lot more peace in that area. It gives us the space to be more proactive and less reactive. It gives us the space to have a little more peace, a little more pause, and a little more joy than the crisis mode. So now I ask you, what is your August going to look like? What has your summer looked like? Who are you becoming? What are you stepping into? How are you going to show up this month? In what energy? And are you going to join me in getting back on the path to bliss, back to good habits, fresh starts, maybe some moments of inspiration, some time with friends and family, some moments of connection, some time to yourself, maybe to read or meditate or reflect or pray or get a massage or do something that serves your soul. Maybe it's time for a sunrise walk. Maybe it's time for a sunset. I don't know. You get to decide what that looks like for you. But whatever it is, I hope that you know that bliss is always there. You can't fake it. You can't force it. But you can find it if you're just willing to walk the path and take the good, the bad, and everything that's in the middle, all the messy stuff, with grace, with love, with compassion, with eyes for the future and ears to listen for the lessons. Have a great week, everybody. Happy Sacred Sunday, and looking forward to experiencing August with you. That's it for today's episode. Thanks so much for being here. I am deeply, deeply grateful for this time to connect. Now, if you are feeling called to dig deeper and really work on elevating your mindset, your wellness, and your relationships, and you're looking for a life coach to work with you one-on-one and really help you just retrain your brain, define success on your own terms, and just live healthier, happier, and more meaningful life, well, I invite you to schedule a consult with me. Let's have a conversation and see if working together is in our future. You can find the link to calendar of consult right there in my show notes, but you can also connect with me on my website, carolinedeposada.com, or send me a DM on Instagram at Caroline de Posada. I'm so excited to connect with you a little further. Now, as far as this podcast goes, I would so appreciate if you could leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts. Those reviews help us so much. And like my friend always says, the project is big and you're a part of it. So thank you for helping me spread good in this world.